Hi, my name is Alessandro Gangelos and that's a video tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for Max Cookie. Today I'd like to talk about the skin human shading made using a VRay, and in the future we'll release also a tutorial about VRay. To do something like that, we'll use a model made by Lee Perry-Smith from a project and a work for Tripod Ganger. And the model was scanned in 3D from the company, the Infinite Realities, and you can see the website to www.higher-limited.net, and you can see what they do. And they released this model months ago to be used freely, so you can download it or you can use directly from our scene. So we have to import the model, so let's go inside our folder, and you see that we have the scan and the displacement map. So there we have the object, and there we have some maps released by the company. We can import this mesh. Let's say import. It is searching for a map, but that's not a problem. Actually, we can say to search the map over there and later. Okay, we can skip and we can solve it later. Okay, that's the model. You see that the model seems really simple. And it's nothing so complex, not so much polygons. And you see that every single piece has a different piece and different model. So all the stuff can be a group, and this group will be the human model. Sorry. Okay. Let's go to check the scale of this model. So zoom everything. And let's see that it is really little. We are talking about 0.4 centimeters, and we have to scale 100 times. So let's scale this one 400 times. And we have to scale, sorry, I made a mistake. We have to scale more because we are talking about 0.3 centimeters, so 10 times and 100 times. And so let's scale it 10,000 times. Let's reset the scaling just to be sure that we have everything set in the right way. So let's save our scene because we are starting to work directly on the model and the look. Okay, so you see that's the model. It's really simple. Let's move it up the zeta plane, and we have to start working with VRay. VRay. So we can set up the renderer, and we say to use VRay. Perfect. Let's start with a really basic setup, and we can say to use the environment to have a skylight simulation. And actually we are not changing nothing, just the scale for the okay, that's the model. We changed just the scale for the render region. In the global switches in the frame buffer set enable built-in frame buffer, and let's go there to say to use the show save frame, and then back there. So if we go to render, we have this really simple render. Okay, nice. Now we have to start playing with the illumination. So I can say, let's go to create a camera, and we'll use a VRay camera with a VRay physical camera. So that's the camera with the C button from the keyboard, and then let's say that this part is there, and then we select the camera target and we move it. Then directly in the camera we can just move a little bit. Okay, so the camera, and actually we are using it as a still camera, and later we can set for example the white balance. Let's go for a neutral lighting. If we go to render again, that's the actual status because we have just the skylight with no lighting. If we go to set a light from VRay, let's set a 3-point lighting, maybe starting with a light from this side. If we go to render, you see that we are starting to have light there. Now we have just to adjust the lighting. Let's go in shaded, and let's say that this light has 100 for the multiplier, and you see that we are starting to have lighting inside the view. We can go to 200. It depends obviously on the exposure also. So with the actual exposure, let's go higher with illumination, and let's say that this one is our basic lighting, and we can have another light. We'll do something really simple. Let's say that we have a fill light there, and this fill light will be, let's say, blue. Let's see, just with this sorry, let's set to off the key light. This one will be the key, and the other one will be the fill, and this one is set to on. You see, that's the lighting that we are doing. Actually, let's go for a darker color, and let's go for maybe 100, maybe just a little bit more, 108. Okay, let's see with the other light set again to on, and that's the actual look we have. You see that we have a little bit of blue there. We can have also a fill light as a backlight, and we'll move it on the back. And let's say that this one is a warmer light. We set to off this one and to off the other one too. We see how it looks. We say that this light is not visible. It will be a little bit more powerful. Sorry, I made a mistake because I changed the other light. So this one is more powerful and it's not visible. So you see we have just the light in there. Let's go higher. Okay, we have a nice reflection there. let's say, interaction with the light. Then we can go back to have also the field light set to on, and we can see how it looks. Okay, and let's add also the key light. Okay, so this one is the backlight, and now we add also an HDR map to have the lighting coming from also the illumination done with an image. So this one is not a plane, it's a dome, and this dome has a map. Let's say HDR. And we can go there and select the VRay HDR. We can select the map, and you can use one map as the one in the texture folder. These maps come from 3dsmax installation. Let's say that we use this one, for example, and we say that we are talking about a mirrored ball. Okay, so then we go there in the environment, and we go inside the texture and say to use this one at maximum resolution, and we say that we are talking about a full dome. Let's set to off all the other lights, so we are using just the HDR map to illuminate. Okay, it is obviously really powerful, but let's go inside the material there in the rendering, sorry, and let's remove the override. Then let's start using 1 as power for the HDR map. Sorry, I made the mistake again with the wrong lighting. Let's reselect this one and say 1. And okay, 1 is really low, so we can act directly there. Let's say 10. It is still low, but we are starting to see something inside the viewport. Okay, let's go higher to 100. Okay, we are starting to have a nice lighting. Let's say maybe 150. Okay, so let's see. So we have both kind of illumination. We can use the one or the other one, and you can switch using, for example, also a state set. So we need to start working on the material. Actually, you see that it has a default material applied. We can call it human skin. And the first thing we have to do is to change this one to a VRay fast SSS2. So that's the skin shader. And the first thing we can do is to load a preset and load, for example, the skin pink. Now if we go to render, obviously we are starting to use the skin. You see that it is not so nice because it has some value that are not needed for us. So let's do something in state set to create, sorry, I have some kind of problem with the state set. Okay, now it works. Let's select this one and delete. This one is the HDR lighting. Then we can create another state This one is the 3-point lighting. We can record and set off this one on, and on. Okay, so if we go to this one, we have the HDR, and in the other case, you see we can change the illumination as we need. So let's see. Okay, let's work on the material, and the material needs a texture. So if we start using the map we have, because we have a map, we can think about to go inside the bumping. But first of all, let's play a little bit with the material. You see that there we have the one parameter that is needed is the prepass scale. The prepass is a quality level. If you use an higher parameter there, you can have a better quality. So if you are starting to make some tests, you can use -2 or -1. If you are starting to have something better, you can use 0 or 1. If you are really near to the object, it will be better to go for 2. Let's see to have a setup to make nice rendering. So let's go there. Let's use the mission traveling, and let's use 1.8. In the illumination we can use also a little bit of ambient occlusion, but it can slow down, so let's take care about it to not match. Let's see if it is starting to be a little bit better. You see that we have the ambient occlusion. Okay, then let's go in the radiance, and let's go actually with really low and show calculation phase, and later we have also the detail. Let's go for 35 for the detail, and the second engine for the secondary bounces will be a light cache, and we'll use all trait we have on our workstation, show calculation phase, and we can start with 1000. For the other settings there, we are using 16 for the main samples and 2 for the global subdivision. And let's use half memory we have on our workstation. So I have 64 gigabytes, I can use 32. Save again, and I can render again, test. Okay, you see that now we have no more grain over the mesh, and that's really nice. So we can play with -1 or -2 for testings, and then we can add the latest one with a higher resolution. Let's go there to have a little bit less ambient occlusion. So then we have the scaling of the model, and we'll use 1 because we are working on a real scale with right parameters and scaling. Then we have the IRR. I like to use a little bit higher IRR, and we can work just on a piece. And let's go to have no anti-alias just to speed up. And you see that we have a little bit more interaction with the lighting. So then other parameters that are useful, obviously. We have there the specularity, let's say, to trace the reflection. So we'll have reflection over the skin, and then let's say to scatter the global illumination. So in this case we'll have the scattering in the subsurface scattering for the global illumination rays, and not just for the light sources. Another important thing is the pre-pass blur. This one is a blurring effects over the pre-pass calculation over the subsurface scattering. Using a parameter like this one is to have poor quality because we'll have blurring. To have an higher quality render, we need to have a lower value. So we can have, for example, 0.1 to have a really nice look. Okay, as you see, the quality is really bad, and before was better, and that's still because we have no blurring, but we have a really poor quality on the rate. So it is better to have a higher rate and a really low amount for the pre-pass blur. When you are making tests, it is better to have a higher pre-pass blur with a really poor quality calculation of the GI. So let's go for example, -1 and 1.2 as by default. The scatter radius is in centimeters and it's 1 centimeter, and we can stay with the default value. Now we need the VRay map, and the first thing we are doing is to have an overall color. The overall color is the color given to the skin. So what we can do is to have a bitmap, and we'll use the map we have. So let's go there in the scan, and we have the color map. Let's wait for the loading, and that's the map. You see that it's a scanned map with all the color information needed. So in this case, we remove the blurring because we like to have all the details, and we have the color for the skin. Let's go to check the map. You see that the quality of the map is really nice. So let's try again to render to see what happens. Okay, you see that it's starting to have the map, but everything is really dark. So you can do something with Photoshop, but we'll do something directly there with a color correction. So keep all map. We'll try to change this map to have something more useful for the stuff we are preparing now. So we remove a lot of saturation from the map, and we make it a little bit brighter. Back to the render, and you see that now it's a little bit more clear than before. Then we go to change something more. There we have the subsurface scattering color, and it's this one. We'll go to have something different, and we go to have a copy of this map, and this one will be a little bit more similar to the map we had at the beginning. So it will be something like that. Okay, nice. Actually, everything is really dark. Let's go to use the 3-point, and let's go to have obviously also the scatter color, and we do something that can be done obviously in 3D because I'm trying to achieve the map you need, but obviously you can do something directly using a 2D software. So this will be the scatter color. We can go to render again, and that's the result. Now something that can be done is to have a brighter map because the map are really dark. So to make it really fast, we can use another color correction over this one, keep all map. So in this way we'll use the advanced, and we set to 2.2 the gamma of the image, so you see it's really bright. We can do the same with this one. We can maybe just remove a little bit of saturation, and then use a color correction, keep hold. We go there in advanced, and we set to 2.2. Same thing can be done to the color there, and I like to remove also a little bit of saturation, maybe just fix a little bit. Okay, and set a new color correction and use the advanced and 2.2. Now we can check how the rendering is coming. And as you see, the render is really better than the previous one. So now we can use more maps, and the first thing, we can add some details to the model using the bump map. So we have the normal map with the model, so we can use the normal bump and then bitmap, and we go to select one of the file. This one is the tangent with a smooth UV. Let's say okay, let's see the maps over it, and you see, let's try to remove all the blurring. Let's say one tangent, and let's see if we have more details than before. We'll do maybe just on an area. Let's try to go near the map. So in the rendering view, let's remove, and let's say that we render this one at an higher resolution. Let's say 1000 ALF. Obviously we break here and render just this part and render. Okay, we have something, but it's not so much visible. I like to check the map. Just to see where we have details we have over the entire area. Something that can be done is to use an higher level, something like 50, and if we like, we can try to flip the green to see differences over the mesh. Rendering is better than before, but you see that we have some problem with the smoothing. This problem is due because the mesh is made of pieces, so you see we have this piece and the other piece, so you should attach everything. We can make something with that pieces. Let's go in orthographic, let's remove the grid and zoom, then let's assign, for example, an editable poly, and let's attach to this one, and then we should attach all the polygons, for example there, weld, and we have to do the same for all. I will do just for some points, so you can finalize along all the other vertices. Okay, let's imagine that we're done for all pieces. Now we can go to render, and we have solved the. As you see, partially it's solved. Obviously it is not completely solved because we didn't attach it all the other objects, so it needs work, and you can do it manually. So now I'd like to do something more, and that's group, close, and I mean adding a displacement map. So let's go there, let's say bitmap, and we go to pick the displacement there. It takes a little bit to load because it is big. Okay, let's remove the blurring and let's see this map. Okay, I mean, let's remove all the maps because I like just to see the displacement. Let's say 2, and in the settings there for VRay, start with a really low quality, so 1 for the edge pixel, and let's try with 6 for the max subdivision, and then we go back there and we say to render this part. As you see, we have problems because all the seams are breaking due to the displacement. So something that can be done is to use to attach all the meshes, and obviously you have to do it. So let's use another edit poly, and let's attach all the other meshes. You should be able to weld all the vertices, but obviously we have no time now to make it. Then you can use a VRay displacement modifier and put this map there as an instance. There we can set to off, and then you can, for example, say to use, let's say 0.5 centimeters. Then we say 1, let's say 12, and let's say to smooth the UV and keep the continuity, and to use -1 and 1 for the value for the rendering. There we can set to off the override, and we can let's re-render. As you can see, we start to see all the detail over the model, but obviously we have the problem that actually it is still creeping all the model there because we didn't work it on the polygons. You see that there where we merged the edges, we have no problem. So something that you have to remind also to do there is to have maybe a little bit of shifting, let's say 0.25 to solve part of the problem, but you have to remember that you need to solve the problem there with the vertices, so you have to weld everything. Now we see if we can use the other model, the one with all the details, or we continue without the displacement. As you can see, it can be partially solved using this trick, but if you have time, please remember to attach all the meshes all together. So I like to go back to the other lighting, okay, and remove in the global switches the displacement, and let's see this area, and I like to see to have a little bit better scattering. Okay, that's the actual result. And before we play with the subsurface scattering, I'd like to add a better quality specularity and reflection over the model. And to make something like that, we can change this one to a blend material, and we keep the old one as the base there, and there we create a coat material using a base material, let's say reflection. We use a black color, and we'll have a freshener reflection with 1 for the reflectivity, and we say to use this one as an additive shellac material. If we go to render now, okay, you see that we have a reflection, but obviously we need to have the reflection glossiness, so we go for something like that. Let's render just this area. You see that in this way it is going better. We'll have to use a bitmap to control the specularity, and we'll do the same to create another bump map. We can use the color map, then we go in a color correction, keep all map. Let's remove the saturation, and let's see this map, and let's say that we have a little bit more contrast. Okay, obviously we remove all the detail or the blurring, and let's copy this one to use it as a bump. In this way we'll have the reflectivity more in some areas and less in other areas. Okay, that's the actual result, and we use this map. Maybe there we use a lower adding, let's say maybe, sorry, 85. so just a little bit over the other, and there inside this map we can use the same texture there. Let's use the bump. Let's set to off this one, and let's say that this one is 3.5 and see the test. Okay, you see that there now we have also more detail over the skin, and that's really nice. We can just maybe go inside there and say 0.1 to have a little bit less crispy detail, and back to have also the normal, and then let's go to have again back all the maps and make just a fast preview of this area. Okay, so we have the basic setup, and now I'd like to finalize the scene, tweaking all the stuff we've done until now. So let's go to the 3-point lighting, and I think we'll change also the 3-point lighting to have a better lighting. I like to tweak the shader and also the other stuff inside the scene. So let's start from this one, the object, and just to see if we have to do something there. We can have more subdivision to have the final quality, and we can have a better resolution for the edge length, having the more little edge length for the displacement there. So for the moment, let's remove the displacement from the rendering, and let's go to a lower resolution there. So inside VRay global switches, and this one is set to off. Okay, perfect. So let's go inside the material editor. Let's wait for the opening of the material editor. It's done, and let's go to set some stuff. First of all, I like to have a better quality for the skin, so let's go in the general parameter, and we still work with -1 there. We can have a bigger scale. Using a bigger scale for this one, we say that the object is bigger than the actual scale by 25%, and in this way we have a little bit more scattering over the mesh. Then I like to have just a little bit more glossiness for the reflection, and to speed up the rendering we can remove the scatter GI, so we have the scattering just for the illumination. Let's have a lower blurring for the blur, for the global illumination, the scattering, sorry, and then let's work on the there we can work with just the bump as we done before, so we'll not use for the moment the UV map, and then let's remove everything to start tuning the shader, so we have no, let's open the render, we have no displacement. Let's render. Okay, I'd like to change also the lighting, so let's go back there, and using this one, let's pick this one, and for this one we can have just to move it to have a bet. Let's use a target light, so we can go lower there to something like that, and we can pick the target and make it higher, so the lighting is going in this way. Let's do the same for the back lighting, sorry, the field lighting, and the same for the other one. let's move to the target over our mesh, and let's start setting to off the fill, and this one is set to on, and we can have an higher value, and we change also the lighting, so this light will arrive from up and it is a little bit more with an higher inclination, something like that maybe. Okay, let's go again in the rendering. Okay, that's the actual illumination. Let's move a little bit there, and let's say that we have a higher value for the illumination. Let's go for 800, and let's go for a color more a little bit warm. Okay, and then we can tune a little bit the other lighting, and this one will arrive, let's say, a little bit down, and the inclination can be a little bit different, just a little bit, and it is set to on, and we'll change also a little bit the coloring. We say that we have 200, and let's go for maybe something like that. Okay, and if we go to render, okay, let's start tuning more the material. So we have this one, the blend, and I like to have more reflectivity, and to have more reflectivity we have just to change the blend amount, and we can make something like 200, 200 and 200. Okay, and we change also some parameters. So actually you see that we have the freshen reflection. We like to have a global reflectivity over the mesh, and we go to change a little bit the map, trying to simulate the Derma over the mesh. So we try to use the actual normal map, this one, to have the bump mapping. And to do this, we load it, and then we use the color correction to have a better look. So back there, sorry, let's see the map. As you see, it's not good, because in this way we have illumination and reflection everywhere. So we have to work with a higher contrast and a darker map. So let's say -70 for the brightness and 100 for the contrast, and in this way we have something like that. And for the other thing we can leave as this, and let's try to render. Okay, it is starting to work a little bit better. So let's close there. Let's say to do a bigger rendering, let's say be 1000 and half, so we can have a bigger area, and I mean this area, to see how it looks. Okay, we have a partial rendering. We can tune more stuff, and I mean we can do something, for example, just to check if we can obtain a better quality render. I'd like to see how it looks there. We can stay with something like that, and then let's still control something, and we can do something, for example, for the over color. So let's set the over color, and actually we were using the color correction with the gamma, and then we had also the color correction inside the map, and we can try to have less saturation, to have less color, and this will be useful to have a more natural look. And let's try to use less the maps, so maybe 60 for our map can be enough, or maybe just a little bit more, but we can see it later and make a test. Okay, so let's go to tune the other maps, and actually we have to tune also the scattering maps we are using. And the first one we are using is the subsurface scattering color, and we are using the color correction to manipulate it. And there we have the 2.2 gamma, and we have inside the color, and I think we can stay with something like that. So this one can be just set back to be used. And then let's go to control the scattering color, because actually it was really too reddish. So I'd like to see if we can do something to add less color. First of all, there we have the gamma contrast. We can remove it, make a copy, discard the old map. So that's our map actually, and we can remove a little bit of saturation, and then maybe we can add a little bit of red just using a composite map. So we control manually the coloring, keep old map, we can assign another one, and the second one will be an RGB tint. Let's wait. Okay, it is still okay. We can change the color to just red, and we set as average, so we have an average between one and the other one, and we have this kind of map. Now we can check it. Okay, let's stop. Let's see what happens if we have the HDR lighting. And render. Okay, you see that it is starting to be better. We have to tweak some stuff, and we can add a new state, and this one is, let's call it full lighting. We load this one, and then we can record and select this one. It's set to on, so we have the lighting done with this one too. So we have maybe a really low amount for this light, and then the fill light is set to on, and this light maybe can be moved a little bit. Let's go maybe around 100 and minus 40 and minus 5. Okay, then we can work on this one, and our key light is obviously set to on. And let's see if we can tune a little bit. Let's go around 220 and maybe just a little bit more there. Go to the white, and we can move it a little bit. Let's go around minus 90 and minus 35 and 95. Okay, so the backlight can stay with its color. Let's double check it, and we can stay with this kind of color. Talking about the position, we can stay with this one. So if we go to make, we can stop recording, and we can save, and if we go to check again the render, we should have something more interesting. Okay, it is going better. I'd like to fix a little bit the specularity over the material, because it is still maybe a little bit too much. So we need something inside the specularity, and we can try to copy this one. Okay, and let's go to manipulate this map, and obviously I like to have, this one stay to 0, and the map, okay, sorry, this has 2 level, so I'd like to adjust this one as a copy, discard all map. Okay, and on this one we go to -100%, and let's go for maybe -15 and more contrast to have more color out of the image. And then inside there we have all the detail. So in this way, let's pick maybe just this area, and let's make another test render. Okay, as you can see now it works better. We have just to tune up the latest parameter, and I like to solve a little bit of problems we have there with the scattering, as you see. So let's go in the scatter color inside the map, and the map is a little bit dark, so let's go to 0 for the brightness and 0 for the contrast, so we have the normal coloring. And let's go for a positive value of the saturation to have a little bit more coloring, and let's see if we solved the problem. As you see now it works better. So another thing we have to do on the material is to go on the top of the material, and we have to retune the render quality, so we can stay to 0 to have a nice quality. If you need to stay nearest to the object, you can go for 1, and then there we can go also 0.25 can be enough, maybe 0.2. And then the other thing we can do is to close there and go inside the material, there the rendering. That's our resolution. We can go with the anti-bias 1.8, and there let's go for I, and the setting can be an F. So back in the rendering viewport, let's select a bigger area, and we have to set back also the displacement. And we can render. Okay, so that's our finished render. If you like, you can have also a little bit of turbo smooth over the surface to finalize it, and you see that the quality is not bad. We can have a better quality still using better maps and making more testing over the material, and maybe we'll do something like that in the future. And soon we'll do the same thing using VRay to see how to achieve a really nice result using VRay with a standard material in 3dsmax. So for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you back on Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Bye.